Hey yo, what's up? My name is Ty Mizzle. You watching my channel Mizzle 14, and I'm back doing a review of Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 5 Reunion Part 3. Let me just say this. I am done. I am not saying I'm done watching the show. But I am completely happy that this season ended. Like I said in my previous video, this has been my most disappointed season of the Real Housewives of Potomac franchise so far. Season 5 had been very disappointing because the fight overshadowed the whole season. I didn't like how it happened. I didn't like the lies that leaded to it. I didn't like to be misled to something. I didn't like the whole journey. The aftermath, the after effect, what happened behind the scenes. It was a lot going on with the season that I would say, you know what, it's done. And then people on social media, they are the worst. They carry the most. And it's like, a lot of people are here for the violence. I'm not here for the violence. I don't care. I don't fight. I haven't been to fight since I'm in middle school, so I'm not gonna be up here condoning violence like that. Unless you really have to, when you back up in the corner, you really have to, then that's the story. But when you could walk away from a situation, you will walk away. So this reunion, I'm gonna say when I have to say a little bit about this place, what happened, and give my opinion. I might do a live tomorrow. I'm gonna talk about more of my feelings about the season and everything, all that stuff. Go live because I want to talk about Power as well. So I might do a Power and Real Housewives of Potomac tomorrow to talk about it. So if y'all can stay tuned later in the evening, I might post it up before I go live, and y'all can come and join me to watch the live. Okay, but this reunion Potomac Part 3. Alright, so continue from last week. And when Candace walked away and she had to go to her room, her husband Chris calmed her down and tell her everything and just be cool, all that stuff. He gave her brown liquor to calm herself down, so she came back out. And that's that. And then we went to talk about how Monique had never apologized. And then she explained that what triggered her was the hand to the close to her face. Like I said it. Her hair was not close to her face. Her hand was in the air like you was talking with your hands. So it was not swept under your chin and all that stuff. I don't care what I say. And also, in the comment section, be respectful. If you are Team Monique, be respectful. Because if you go ahead and bashing people, your comment will get deleted. Okay? Let's be respectful. You could be the different opinion, but just be respectful. Okay? And it was not under the trend. So it was like that triggered you. But so she said she had a childhood trauma that triggered her to act that way. The fight wasn't about Candace. It was about her traumatic response of her childhood that she went through. She said her father used to keep doing this to her in her head. And she could never say to her father, get your head out of my face, because she had to go through that. And she took her back to her childhood, to the playground where people keep doing that. Now, I'm not going to diminish her childhood trauma, just like I can diminish Candace's trauma. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because I'm getting upset and annoyed how people try and diminish it, try and say, oh, she a crybaby, she crying under this, or she traumatic or not, and she going after Monique. It's different levels of traumatic experience. It's different responses to somebody being traumatic. It's not one cookie cutter response to how someone responds to a traumatic experience. Just because she crying and she going and tackling a person, the course of her, doesn't mean that she can't be still traumatized. But I'm going to talk about that. But Monique said she had a trauma experience. My thing is that you close to 30, you're 37 years old. You just had a birthday. If you know that was triggering you and you had a lot of issues with that from your childhood, you should have had that help a long time ago. You're in therapy now, but you should have had help a long time ago, because that led to you to be someone who could be destructive, who would cut anybody off and would just assert your purpose, who you could use violent behavior, you could act out if you never got it handled. Because if that was your traumatic experience, you should have got to talk to someone. You should talk to someone and have that help. So this situation with Candace would never got to that point if you knew that was a certain trigger, and something like that could trigger you to respond like that. Right? So it took her back to her childhood to make her snap. So she really was fighting somebody, a whole entity that was not Candace. It just happened that Candace was the brunt of it. And I said good. We get it. But at the same time, you use too many different variables of a version of what triggered you to fight Candace. If you could have just said something that Candace did triggered me to the fact that I snapped, and a hand in my face brought me back to my childhood that made me think of somebody else. And the target of my rage at that point was not Candace, but I reacted to that stimuli, and Candace was the butt of it, the person that I reacted to. So that triggered me to snap. You didn't have to say the drink was thrown in your face. You didn't have to say it was her mouth. You didn't have to say it was due to threat. You didn't have to say all that. If you would have been truthful that I was triggered by something in my childhood and I snapped on Candace that it didn't need to be her, then none of us would have been upset. So it was like, okay, whatever. But it was not particular response. But at the same time, it's still not a reason why you had to fight her. Because you got triggered by the action, but you still didn't need to say why. But if you said it didn't need to happen and it was not about Candace, then it is what it is. So you just snapped because it didn't have to involve her. And you could have said you have misdirected rage. But you went along with this lie for a year, didn't have any remorse, didn't apologize for it. They say nothing about that. And this shut nobody down to coming after Candace, dragging her in the mud, going through her crazy on her social media accounts, talking to her, saying, you deserve this, I wish she did more to you, this is that, I'm glad that she whooped your behind, all that stuff for a year. You didn't stop that. And if you've been upfront and real and said that I was triggered by my childhood, a traumatic experience in my childhood, that I snapped and responded to that, and it didn't need to have to involve Candace. So I was building a lot of anger and resentment, a leg of rage, or something that brought me back to that childhood. Good. Then people want to understand the story of the childhood, and you could show more reasons to be in a therapy session, show more therapy sessions, and sit down and talk about that and see how they go. People had been understandable. You came this ice queen, act like you was not bothered. Nobody can say nothing to you. This, that, I dragged this chick. I'm laughing about it, liking tweets, did this, did a whole song about it. Now, come to the song. The therapist told Monique to write a letter, because we saw that in the episode, write a letter to Candace, right? But she didn't know how to write a letter because she expressed herself in a song. She said, what other ways can you express yourself? She said she could rap and write a song about it. And she wrote a song because she said based against bullying. But it's funny that you was kind of bullying Candace the whole season, so you get a response out of her at that night. But she said it wasn't about Candace, but it was a song about confronting your bullies called Drag Queens. And I didn't listen to the song, and I think I won't listen to the song because you wrote a song about it, bragging about dragging someone. Now, if you're saying it's about bully, whatever. But at the same time, if that response to an exercise your therapist give you, into a letter to Candace, but you wrote a song about it, so why not as directed to Candace? Why not? One might think that it would be directed to the person that you fought, because that was an exercise the therapist give you. If you couldn't write a letter, you wrote a song about it, so the song was about her, right? But you changed it up, say it was about bullying. Okay, we get it. I don't know. If y'all believe that, tell me y'all believe that, but I don't understand how you say it's not about Candace, but it was an exercise dedicated toward Candace. So you express yourself through a song, but then the lyrics to the song is about bragging. So then she did her apology to Candace and said she owned up to her apology to her own actions to that night because it wasn't about you, and I could own up to my thing because it was triggering me of my childhood, and I went back to my childhood, and that's responsible for my father and everything, and it didn't have to do with you, and I shouldn't have taken it out on you because it wasn't about you that night, and I shouldn't have did that. And she apologized. Granted, she apologized now after a year later. Now, I saw people on Twitter, oh, she apologized, and now you can't set to apologize. What more do you want? You want to beg? I said, I don't think it was important. It wasn't about her begging. It wasn't about the begging. It's about how you led onto this thing and you haven't had any remorse all this time. You wrote a song about it. You liking tweets. You let people dragging Candace for a whole year. You let this, you kind of sue, you did all that stuff with about Candace. Didn't really care. Up to that point, you really didn't have remorse on the reunion that much. Until that moment, when you're in a hot seat, now you say you own up to your part of it didn't involve Candace, you apologize. Whether Candace accept the apology or not, doesn't mean she want Monique to beg her. It's up to her to accept the apology if she want to. Now, I can understand that Candace did not want to accept the apology because you waited a whole year. You dragged it. Your actions showed that you was not remorse. And now you want to tell me that you sitting here right now in front of my face after we had a whole year not seeing each other to tell me that, yeah, you apologize, all that stuff. Some people not accept the apology. Some people say, you know what, whatever, good, move on. But she just didn't hurt about the aftermath of the fight. It wasn't the fight itself. It was about the whole thing and how your actions led to this, to now, a whole year later. The case got thrown out. You didn't apologize because but the case got thrown out that same year the fight happened. So you still had time to reach out. But that's that. Like I said, Candace could accept the apology or not, but it doesn't mean that she wanted Monique to beg her. But she just wanted Monique to understand, open up her mind that a lot of stuff happened, not just the fight that was done to her, that made her feel little, make her feel attacked by people, dragged, and everything. And Candace said she owned up to her mouth. She owned up to that they all talk junk, and she does that. She does that. But nothing at that night warranted her to put her hands on her. And it's true, because nothing happened that warranted. Now, Monique said something behind the scenes that you was doing that. So that's not, listen, you said it, Gigi, Candace. Candace was not really a part of the plot that you were saying behind the scenes. Now, the only issue you might have is that she probably should reach to a party. We cleared that up. She reached the party, and she didn't call you about the plot stated, whatever. But you and her was not friends at the time. Y'all was not talking. You said at your mouth that you and Candace was not talking like that off taping. So how was she going to call you and tell you about something going on? Now, she told Karen. Karen told you. And then when you called us, she told you about it. But at the same time, she's never brought your child up in the show. And she never mentioned any woman about the trainer. She said none of that. And when Candace mentioned about the fight and then how she was, in this season, walking away every encounter from Monique to avoid a physical altercation with her, to avoid any of that. And she apologized, kept walking away. And she said she wished she should have walked away because she didn't walk away at the time because she had liquor in herself. Because liquor in her. She was drinking. But if she wasn't drinking, she would have probably walked away there. But eventually it wouldn't have happened because Monique had set in her mind to fight her. And I do believe that. She did. Because when Candace explained that, she was clowning. She was clownery. She was being funny. She was not in attack mode to fight. And you can see that when you see that fight, Candace was not in the energy to fight. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm asleep. I'm bored. She twirling around or something. What's that as a fighting? But Nick would say, I was like, okay, yeah, you want to fight her. So nothing warranted that fight. It didn't at all. So, like I said, Candace could accept the apology if she want to accept the apology. But I don't think she could believe it. And I know a lot of people probably won't believe an apology with someone that you was close to or fought you and didn't say nothing until a whole year later. And now they would apologize. You gonna say, keep that apology. I don't want it now. Then she never asked you to apologize now. You could apologize when exactly after it happened. Now a whole year later, after your action shows that you didn't really care about me and my mental state and my mental health. No, that's it. So that was that. Now, Monique countersuit was an assault charge. I guess Ken assaulted her. I guess it was the glass. I'll say, so your countersuit was assault charge. Just like Candace suing of you of assaulting her. So you both were suing on doing assault charges. How that happened when you initiate the physical contact of Candace. You initiate the physical contact. All that stuff. Whatever. It canceled each other out because it was no warrant to go anything further. It didn't. And he said, why you countersue? Because her lawyer told her to countersue. And she just do the advice of her lawyer. But the countersuit was a assault charge. I said, okay. And it got thrown out. So it canceled each other out. That's what it was. Now, the whole segment about Karen neutrality. Now, what I saying? Karen neutrality. Karen being neutral. It's a whole bogus. She was playing both sides, and she was straddling the fence, and it seemed like she was more slightly towards Monique. Because everybody said, raise their hand, do you think Karen was more to Monique? Candace and Ashley rolls their hand. Everybody else just stood, they didn't raise their hand. But Candace and Ashley rolls their hand. Even Ashley said, oh, Karen was Team Monique. Okay, girl. So, when that happened, they talk about how they wanted to Karen to hold Monique accountable. Karen said she held Monique accountable numerous of times and told her that she was dead wrong for what she did, putting her hands on it, initiate the physical contact and everything. Now, Karen understand Candace's statement of Candace explaining her about the statement she wrote. And she was thinking that how Candace hitting the glass was simultaneously of Monique grabbing Candace, and when she grabbed it, Candace did this at the same time. But Candace, when she was explaining it, made Karen understand why she wrote the statement. Her statement was not wrong. She released the thing in self-defense. Her head was on the table, getting bashed in, and she couldn't see. She was holding one hand to the wig so it won't go off, and she was using the other one to try to get Monique off of it. And Karen understand that. She said, okay, I understand. So, all that suddenly been said and everything, that was a misunderstanding on Karen's part. Now, Candace mentioned something how it was interesting. Karen sent a private text message. No, she used the private text messages that Candace sent her about her disdain of blaming Green Eye Bandits, Giselle and Robin, of causing the physical altercation or be to blame the cause of Monique fighting Candace. And Candace was telling us that it's not their fault of why Monique attacked me. Monique said herself she was triggered by her childhood trauma that made her snap. So it was Monique's decision. It was nobody else's decision that did that. Nothing else. That's what she said. It wasn't about the woman. It was about her traumatic experience. So there couldn't be the blame of it. They couldn't be the blame of it. So I guess when Karen sent it, called, used that text message to the feud, and she was upset, Karen went to the producers, the Bravo, the boss, and I guess to get Candace's help and trying to, in Candace's mind, to get fired or reprimanded. Candace believed that Karen calling the producer, saying something like that she felt threatened by Candace because Candace said burn eternally in hell, which not a threat. She ain't threatening your life. She said go to hell, burn in hell. You did something, oh go to hell, girl. I don't care about you. You hurt her, so burn eternally in hell. That's not a threat. That's not a physical threat or any direct threat to the person. When you say, oh, go to hell, that's not a threat. That metaphorically. That's not any physical or any warning to you to say, to let go do something. How you going to say, how you going to measure a threat to burning in hell? Whatever. Karen said that to the boss, and she called the producers saying that she did that. Her intent was to get Candace help because She believed her friend needed psychological help or mental health because she went through a traumatic experience. This is my thing with this, Karen. Okay? You said that you called the producer, Bravo, the boss, because you feel threatened by Candace because she said go to hell. But your attempt was to get them to offer her psychological help. You could have called Candace directly and walked with her to a therapist to get her help. You didn't have to call the producers for that. Now, you wanted to call the boss on Candace and get help. Why couldn't you call the same boss to get Monique help? You want to say that she had a medical condition that she can't control her anger, but you didn't call on Monique, but you called on Candace because you feel threatened like Candace because you think that she could threaten you because as a friend she said that to you as a physical threat and everything. I was saying, girl, Karen, really? If you was concerned about Candace's mental health, you should have concerned about Monique's health too, and try to call and get both of them help. But you only send to get Candace's help because she said go to hell. That's not a threat, girl. So you feel for your life because of that. So to the point that she could get fired or reprimanded because you say you feel threatened. That's messed up, Karen. That's messed up at all. Because I wouldn't take somebody say that to me as a threat that I would go to their boss, the employee, and said that. Oh my gosh, you could hurt her bag for doing that. And she said she not regret, she don't apologize for doing that and all that stuff. They both cared for each other. You could tell they both emotional response. They was angry, was going at each other, yelling at each other. So yes, they do feel for each other. So hopefully, Annie said, behind cameras, off screen, y'all can sit down and have an understanding. Y'all go because y'all can tell y'all do care about each other, and it's painful because if y'all didn't care, y'all would say jack-ish with each other. Y'all would say, okay, whatever, and just ignore her all this time. Push with that. So I ain't like that. I would say, why you go to the bosses try to call and get her psychological help? Did you do that for Monique? Come on. If you gonna be neutral, do it for both. If you could call for them for Candace, you should call them for Monique. Monique did a physical attack of someone on television, but you didn't call them to fire her. And you didn't feel threatened about Monique snapping like that? Okay. Okay. So the husband segment, they came out. And mind you, no, go that. The husbands came out. So everybody was doing small talk and everything. Eddie looked nice for his first reunion. He's a handsome man. He looked nice. Chris came out. He kissed Candace. His flower was open. She said, so what's going on here? Because she zipped up the flower. She said, what's going on here? So she gave him some brown liquor and everything to calm her down. They had a little kiki moment. Andy talked to Ray. Juan wasn't there. Michael wasn't there. Jamal wasn't there. And Chris came out. So when Andy was trying to talk to Chris, he said, I'm just busy somebody trying to talk and lie to my wife, about my wife. And they said, oh, okay, well, straight to it. He didn't do no small talking like that. He was all set. Now, Giselle brought a security. I said Giselle was security, girl. She brought security to the houses when Monique had to sit down with the ladies to try to apologize to them. And then she brought security again. I said, oh, child, Giselle, you're dramatic as ever, but whatever. She felt for her life, that's what she wanted, brought security. So apparently, the rumor about the child was coming out. Chris wanted to know who did it. He addressed Candace about why did you go to Monique and tell them that they're trying to spread rumors about things. She would say she would always talk about a lot of things under the sun. And it was a rumor. And she said, shut it down. It's not going to fly by. You can't use this and stuff like that. It looked like the baby. But she said it was a lot of other stuff that was said. So she didn't think of it to be concerned to call Monique because at that time, her and Monique was not talking. So why would she call Monique? Okay? Why? And you knew about this for 2 years ago, and now you bringing this up now? That's what makes it so crazy that you sat on this for 2 years. You didn't address it then, 2 years ago, but you addressed it 2 years later. And now everybody got to worry about their freaking memories and stuff like that. And good thing Gigi said, because Gigi said that Candace was neutral. She wasn't attacking She was on the bandwagon trying to spread it. Candace, even Candace got her ass whipped or stuff behind whip. She did not even try to spread the rumor. So they didn't want to believe it and think that, oh, you should still tell her. But at the same time, Monique said y'all was not friends. Y'all was not cool like that. So that's what she didn't call. Now, when they talk about who spread the rumor of the child on the thing, asked Candace, Candace said no. Asked Robin, Robin said no. When asked Giselle, Giselle said, don't talk to me. I said, Giselle, answer it. They said it was brought up, but it was not aired. And I would like to say, they aired the footage, the unseen footage of season 5. They edited that out. Granted, Monique brought it up in the confessionals early in the season. And then they asked Giselle what was the rumor, and she said about the trainer. Now, they say she never talked about the child on the show. So when they went to when Giselle came to the house, Monique's house, mind you, she knew about this rumor. Giselle came to the house. Chris asked Giselle, oh, look at Chase. Does the baby look like me? And Monique started laughing. And she said, oh, yeah, the baby look like, who else would the baby look like? Who else would the baby look like? It was a little jab. And then they had another unseen footage of Giselle and Robin, that scene that Giselle was trying to buy furniture for a house. And they sit there and talk. And they said, oh, he asked me about the percentage of the child. I was like, does the baby look like him? And said, why he would question me about the baby and the child? And I think that was part, Giselle said it was part of their storyline, so she didn't think none of it, that she just started talking about it. Oh, everybody was saying that the maternity about this baby is not going to be his or something like that. She was saying it, but it was not aired. But I guess they cut that out. So, I give it to it. I give it, even though it was not aired in the final product, but Monique did bring it up first. Giselle didn't come up with the maternity child thing until Newberg. Newberg was episodes later down the line. You brought it up in the confessionals first, Monique. You did. Because you said, oh, they were trying to say a rumor about my child and so on and stuff. Nasty rumors about it. Nasty rumors. She said they were trying to spread nasty rumors. They said, what's the rumors? And she said, this is too much to say. And then Giselle picked up the trainer, but she never mentioned about the child on that confessional. When they knew Newberg, when Monique said about, Chris said, oh, did the baby look like me? That was an unforeseen footage of Chris asking Giselle that. So they brought that up first. And then Giselle talked about it one Robin Monique. So I was like, okay, so she wouldn't even say anything about it if you even mentioned anything about it to her at your house. So it was talked about, it was not aired. So they cut that scene that Chris asked her, and they cut her scene when she was saying, oh, they came out of the beach. That's what one of the woman's going. I was like, okay. It was not aired on the show, y'all. But they cut it out. So it was unseen footage. So maybe it was taped, but they didn't show it to the final product. But, yes, Chris asked Giselle, oh, the baby look like me, right? So, okay, that was like something that was a jab of behind the scenes and thinking that she was trying to bring it up. But she never brought it up until they said it first. So that's what I say. They did bring it up first. And then she talked about it. But when she first talked about it, she said just the training. She never mentioned the child yet. She never mentioned the child until after you asking that question. Then she started going off with it. Okay? So, then it was saying, it said that Chris got up, like he was getting upset, because a lot of people was all going back and forth and everything, and they were saying, you talk about my child. They said, who would talk about your child? They said, you supported a blogger that talking about my kids. And you supported them. And then, I guess Chris raised his voice, but he was basically talking to the other Chris, but it think they were talking to Monique, and it looked like he was screaming at Monique. But I don't think he was screaming at Monique. He was screaming at, they said, y'all, you supported him. Y'all supported him by bashing my children. So if you didn't like somebody talking about their child, why you would support that blogger? Now, it had nothing to do with us, but it secretly has to, because y'all support the person. If you don't like anybody talk about anybody's children, no matter what circumstances, you wouldn't support the person. You would say, no, I'm not getting with that. You trying to be messy, talk about somebody else's child. You know how Liz Ray was so trying to talk about my child. Now I'm trying to sit in there, no, I'm not going down like that. Because that's not happening. I know this video is long, y'all, but it was the last part. It was on an hour and a minute long. So I had to give you as much as I can. So that was that. So it wasn't much of the thing. They mentioned how, no, it wasn't much of the thing. They said Robin is excited she got proposed. She's still doing her hat selling, all that stuff. She's good. She's been in the house ground up and everything. That's that. And Michael didn't think Juan would propose, but it was nothing behind it why he was so adamant that he's not going to propose. He just didn't think that he just didn't think that Juan will propose again. Okay? And what else was said about it? And they talk about how Michael come at people, talk about his wife and everything. He said he don't like anybody disrespecting his wife. This is the Chris and Ashley segment that they sneak peeked us on Twitter. And Chris was right. Chris Bassett was right. He was saying that Michael don't act in a way conducive of anyone to have a conversation with him. He does in a way that people will come after him because he does single-handed crazy things, and he don't stand to the side, point to guys to the side, take them separate from the drama, talk to them like man to man, and try to understand the differences. But he does in a way that you can't have a conversation with him because he will do crazy off the topics, and then you have to fly with the handle on him because he is putting you in a position that you have to respond. If you would go to him man to man, like he said 2 years ago, Chris wanted to beat Michael behind because when Ashley was saying that she was drunk and driving her car to the ditch, to the tree. And Chris was upset he wanted to beat Michael because he can't touch Ashley. But when Chris had that little issue, they went up to him. He went to Chris as a man and discussed things behind the scenes, and they had some issues, and that's what they expect Michael to do. But no, Michael wanted to be messy, and that's just how it is. So Ashley said nothing else after that because she knew Chris was right. That's it. Be a man about it. If you have an issue, come to me as a man and we can discuss it. But don't come to me as a messy queen and think you can go get a reaction, positive reaction. No, that's not happening. You wanted to cause drama. You wanted to cause drama. And at the end of the day, the girls left out. They talk about their aspirations and what they're going to try and change. I ain't going to do the deep all that because it's already a long video. And we'll see how next year's go. And they say they're turning each other down. They need to build each other back up, learn from their mistakes, and continue to move forward. And then hopefully they work on themselves and everything. And they continue friendship. Now I want to read something because immediately after the reunion, Monique mentioned that she's quitting the Housewives of Potomac. And she is no longer going to return to the Real Housewives. Now I'm going to read something offline that I got. She said she quit. Now, earlier, people were saying that she got a contract because they would say, oh, Monique should get fired and everything. I didn't think Monique would get fired. I think she would get demoted. But I don't think she was going to get fired. But at the same time, it's like, what if she did continue on to next season, what can she do? A lot of ladies aren't going to be comfortable filming with her. And she's going to continue to just only film with Ashley and probably Cameron. And that's this season. Any major group scenes, then it's going to be crazy. So she said Monique got on live, her Instagram live, and announced this. Monique Samuels had confirmed she won't be returning for the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 6. The ladies of the Bravo show have been reportedly receiving their pickup contracts for the new season, but Monique Samuels has declined to continue. In an Instagram broadcast, the entrepreneur explained to her fans why she had decided to leave the show after 4 seasons. Following the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion, Samuels took to Instagram Live to talk directly to her fans. During the broadcast, the reality TV personality said she was over it and was making a decision of leaving the Bravo series. It was a crazy ride. It's not easy doing reality TV. And to be quite honest, I'm over it. Mizzle said during her Instagram TV broadcast, I appreciate everything people have done for me. Everybody that has been Team Monique. I love y'all. But when you cross certain lines, there's no going back. For me, my family is that line. The opinion of my family and my kids and what they think about that I do more. What I think about that I do is more valuable to me than anybody's opinion. So I'm over it. Samuel said that she is walking away from Real Housewives of Potomac franchise because of her family. She didn't want her children to grow up and see the rumors grow up and question why she continued to do the show. I wanted to represent real black love and show people something outside of the stereotype has been on TV. She continued. Unfortunately, this season I played right into that stereotype. I was working overtime to check myself because that's the opposite of what I want to display. I'm always going to be a great example or a role model for my kids, and you have to know when there is enough. When enough is enough. Okay? That's it. She's quitting for season 6. So she got the contract, but she decided to decline it. She's not coming back. So, how do you feel about that? Me personally, I think she needed a break away from it. I think it cracked her. I think a lot of stuff was going on because for her to sit on this rumor for 2 years to bring this up now and then going through the destructive path and all that stuff, she was going through a path that would burn too many bridges and opening too many legal battles and opening too many holes. It was going to be too much mess, and it doesn't need to be her around it. And then top of that, trying to get herself together, she probably go back to her square one. She get triggered by somebody else, fighting again. We can't have that happening. And I said we're going to talk about the trauma of Candace, but this video is long. So when I do my live tomorrow, I will talk about the trauma, okay? And how I feel about how people are saying that. Is she traumatic? Why is she talking back? I said it's different levels. Okay, y'all? But that was my review of Potomac Reunion Part 3. I know it's kind of long, but it was an hour and a half video, and I discussed everything I need to talk about. But please like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Tell me how y'all feel about this episode, and I'll talk to y'all later, alright?